About a reflection, we're talking about a flip over a line. So this is a very clear picture of what's happening. We're looking at the pre-image on the left, the image on the right. Our mirror, or our line of reflection, is right in the middle. The pre-image is going to flip completely over that line of reflection, and it creates a mirror image of the pre-image. The image and the pre-image are the exact same distance from the mirror, and you can see that with each of these points. With point C, it's exactly the same distance on both sides. Point B, exactly the same distance, and point A, you're going to fill in that those two are equal. This distance and that distance are exactly the same, and that's how we're going to figure out where that image is going to land. We're going to count out how far is this from that line of reflection, and then just count the opposite direction. It should end up exactly that same distance on the other side. So number one asks us to reflect point B over the x-axis. First thing we need to do is just find the x-axis. So it's there. Point B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces away on this side. If we're reflecting it over that line, it's going to end up 5 spaces on the other side. So point B will end up 5 spaces below the x-axis. Point B prime, really, will end up 5 spaces below. So that ends up at -5, -5. Alright, so number two asks us to reflect point C over the x-axis. So again, we want to find the x-axis. That's the one that goes left to right. And we're going to figure out how far away point C is from that line. Well, it's 1, 2, 3 above it. So after we reflect over that line, it's going to jump over that and end up somewhere down here. It's going to end up 3 below that line. 1, 2, 3. So C prime will be at the point -2, -3. That's the x-coordinate first, then the y-coordinate. Next, we reflect point E over the y-axis. Reflect point E over the y-axis. So we're reflecting it over this line. It's going to jump onto the other side of that line. It's going to jump somewhere over here. And right now it's 3 to the right, so it should end up 3 to the left. It's going to end up right next to that C prime. Right there, and that is E prime. That's the point -3, -4. We're going to reflect point F over the y-axis. That's the same jump. Actually, it's almost the exact same arrow that we'd have here. It's going to jump over this y-axis, and it's 2 away right now, so it's going to end up 2 away on the other side. So point F prime will be at -2, -6. These last two are both asking us to flip twice. We're going to reflect point A over the x-axis and then over the y-axis. So we're going to reflect point A over the x-axis. That's going to drop down to here somewhere, jumping over the x-axis. It's right now 6 above it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to jump down 6 below it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the first jump, and now it's going to jump across the y-axis. So now it's going to make this jump over the y-axis, and it's 5 away right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to jump 5 away on the other side. It's going to end up right in that bottom left corner. Now it's A prime. Try doing that last one on your own. We're talking about reflecting an entire figure. We're kind of talking about it the same way that we're talking about translations, where we take each of the individual points, we do that transformation with it, and then we reform the figure wherever it ends up. Okay, so we're really just doing it with each of the corners. We're going to reflect this figure over the x-axis, so we're going to reflect each of these points over the x-axis and then reconnect the dots. So point D, again, we're looking for the x-axis. We're looking for that line. Point D is 1, 2, 3 away. It's got to still be 3 away, just on the other side. So point D prime will end up here. Point N is 5 away. It's going to keep this line going, and it's just going to be 5 away on the other side. You can see that these two flip. D was on top before, now N is on top, and W is again 5 away on the bottom. That's going to end up 5 away, just on the other side. So that's where W prime would land, and that would be our final figure. We really just connect the dots after that. Here we're asked for the coordinates, so we just write those down. -4, 5 is W, -1, 3 is D, and N is -1, +5. The next question is asking us to reflect this over the y-axis. So we're going to take each of those points and just jump them over the y-axis. So it's going to end up somewhere over here, and it's going to be flipped around. So if the C is closer to the y-axis here, it should still be closer. Here it's 2 away, so it's going to stay 2 away just on the other side. That's going to be C prime. J is 3 away. Excuse me, that's an F. F is 3 away. And it's going to stay 3 away on the other side. And in order for this to look right, we know that these two have to be 2 away from each other. So I know it's going to end up directly there. We can also see that it's 4 away from the y-axis, so it ends up 4 away on this side. And the question's asking for where's F prime going to end up? What quadrant is that going to end up in? Well, this is the quadrant with all the positive numbers, and that means that's quadrant number 1. All right, finish the back on your own as practice.